Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us here early. We're gonna, I have 9:55 here, so we're gonna go ahead and give everybody those 5 minutes to jump on and join us. Thanks, guys. Good morning, everybody. Again, I got 9:58 here, so I'll give everybody a couple more minutes to jump on and join us. Jordan, I have you, but I'm still waiting on your coach here. Oh, actually, he just joined on. Perfect. Get him up here. Good morning, Coach Brecht. How's it going?
Morning. Good. How are you?
Oh, hold on one second. I can't hear you. Coach, can you try to unmute yourself and try talking for me again here?
Good morning. How you doing today?
Nothing here yet.
How's this?
Coach, how about now? Anything?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Coach, try one more time for me.
Good morning. How you doing?
Gotcha. Boom. Gravy. Good to go. All right. Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. But before we do, I do want to just go over a couple quick ground rules here. For my media, I do want to thank you guys for joining today's call. We'll ask you to remain muted until you have a question, and you will use the raise hand function. Once I click on that raise hand function, you will be prompted to unmute your mic and ask a question. At that time, please state your name and affiliate and then proceed with your question. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. And Coach Brecht, we're just going to have you open off with a general statement.
No, I appreciate you having me today. Obviously, our players are excited for the opportunity this weekend, and thank you for your support of our program and our student athletes.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. And then we'll go ahead and move on to questions for Coach Brecht.
Aaron Brightman on the banks. Coach Brecht, how are you? Congratulations. Obviously, you've added a few key players to the roster this year for the transfer portal. I actually wanted to ask about all the players you retained. The core of this team from last year returned. Kind of a rarity in college sports today that you didn't have any key players leave. What does this say about the culture of this program and what you've built?
I think our grad transfers get a lot of fanfare, and they've been a big part of our success this year. But our core players, as you stated, Ryan Gallagher and Ethan Ryle and Bobby Russo, Kamish, Kurse being back for another year, and then you throw in the rope guys with Franco and Coyne and Denninger. Ross Scott is certainly made a name for himself last year, and has continued on that direction of being a real leader for us on and off the field. So we're really thankful for all the guys that had another year of eligibility through COVID last year with the experience they had going to the quarterfinals, coming back and going to graduate school at Rutgers for this year and helping us get to where we are right now, which is playing for a national championship and going up to Hartford, Connecticut this weekend.
Thanks, Aaron. We'll move on to Chris Nawalski from Rutgers.
Hey, Coach. This is Chris Nawalski from Rutgers Rivals. I know you mentioned a ton of Kurse before going up against his brother. Who's going to try and score on him? What has his emotions been like this week, knowing he has to go up against his brother?
Obviously, Colin's been a true professional in every sense of the word. He's laser focused. He prepares the right way, diligent in the classroom, on the field. So, I really, we've seen this movie before. So, we've been there, done that last year. Same situation. Obviously Colin going against his brother, who's an attackman for Lehigh. Now this year, fast forward, Colin going against his brother, who's an attackman for Cornell. So I think it's business as usual. This week in our preparation, and certainly I know for his preparation stays the same as well. So I don't see. I think it's great for the media. It's great for college lacrosse, and I think on game day, just another 60-minute game for him and for us as a program.
Thanks.
All right, on to Chris Eisman.
Hey, Brian, it's Chris Eisman from the Bergen Record. Just what do you think this means for the state of New Jersey, for lacrosse in the state of New Jersey, to have Rutgers in its first Final Four appearance, the success that the program has had the last couple of years, and obviously joining another Jersey team in Princeton there, who has its own success too in for a long time now. I mean, what do you think this means for the state of New Jersey to have such a New Jersey heavy Final Four?
I think it's great for New Jersey. The youth and the high school level and participation numbers have been going through the roof, over the last 5-10 years. So lacrosse is at its highest that it's ever been. Having the State University of New Jersey here at Rutgers, playing in a Final Four for the first time. I think you see with our attendance on game day. We've always had great fans. Our alumni have been great. The local alumni that come back. All the youth and the high school players that come back for our regular season Big Ten games, and then the first round of the NCAA tournament, having 5,000 plus on campus to see a NCAA tournament game. So certainly excited for the sport of lacrosse in New Jersey, and and obviously having two teams from the state of New Jersey in the Final Four, I think it just gets the excitement and the juices flowing even more for the young players to continue having fun, playing the game that they love.
Hey, Coach, Chris Nawalski again. What's been the most satisfying part, for this journey for you in the NCAA tournament? Obviously making it this far.
I don't know if there's one, satisfying part of this. I think there's a lot of people that you feel very thankful to and for, with this journey in the season this year. Certainly the players on the team, all the guys that chose Rutgers in the recruiting process, before we got to this moment, all the guys that were part of the journey last year, going to the quarterfinals and having an NCAA win for the first time in a long time. And then obviously our proud alumni, the young guys from the Joe Nardellas, the Scott Beatas, the Jules Hennenbergs, the Rex Rhodes, the Mazzones, the Scarpellos, the Tollivers, the DeVickuses, all through the journey, over the last 10 or 11 years, and then certainly the older alumni, Rutgers has a proud tradition, with Coach Hayes and the success they've had in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So to be able to, put on that jersey and, represent, Rutgers lacrosse and, our Rutgers lacrosse family and all our alumni, I think is pretty special. I think our guys in the locker room right now really feel the support on game day. Like I said, our home game atmosphere is outstanding. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And, to see us, go over to Hofstra and this week up in Connecticut, looking forward to, having, all of Rutgers family join us for a great weekend.
Thanks.
All right, we have about 8 minutes left here. Any additional questions here for Coach Brecht? Here we go. Start with Michael Cohen.
Okay. Yes, Coach. Can you hear me? Okay. What does it feel like for yourself and the program to take on one of the preeminent programs in Cornell? They've been one of the best programs in the country for a long time. What's that honor like for you and your club to go up against them?
Sure. I mean, obviously, Cornell certainly has won national championships. They've been in the Final Four before. So I think anytime, you're playing in the month of May, there's going to be a big time game atmosphere and preparation and competition on the field. So we're excited for the opportunity, our guys have earned, and, certainly gonna, business as usual. Like I said, I think our practices this week, the way we go about preparing for our opponent, it's going to stay the same. And, we're excited for the challenge and, certainly, grateful for the opportunity.
All right, Christian Sweezy next.
Good. Coach, may I ask you about Ethan Rawl and the job he does? I was so impressed in particular on Saturday with what he did with Sam Hanley from Penn.
Yeah, no, I mean, Ethan's has been a big part of our success for the last 4 years. I mean, he's been a starter from day one. I think he's had some great mentors when he came in. Him and Kyle Pless, who was an All-American for us, were a great 1-2 punch, and now he's certainly developed him and Zach Masessa last year, and now what him and Remy and Boswell and Brad Apgar have been doing at the LSM position. It certainly helped us to get to where we are, this weekend. So, but he's a true competitor. He is certainly the motor of our, NASCAR, defense to offense and transition. He's great on the wings, great in between the lines. And we ask him to do an awful lot, whether it's matchups at the midfield, whether it's man down, wings or face-offs, and then certainly in the early part of our transition offense. So, certainly very thankful for, all he does, and just a leader, a mentor in the locker room. He certainly is a big part of our success.
All right, Emmett Siegel up next.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask you about, you guys made it to championship weekend now for the first time, and now almost every Big Ten team has made it to this point at some point in the last couple of years. Just wanted to ask you to talk about the state of Big Ten lacrosse and the future of it now that you guys have made it to championship weekend as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Big Ten lacrosse has certainly allowed us to prepare for the opportunities we had last year in the quarterfinals. This year, going to the Final Four. We're tested every week. Our guys have to be focused and prepared and really take care of themselves and really have to be disciplined with everything we do. So there's no easy games. Each team, each university certainly cares about the sport and provides a lot of resources. So it's from day one. It's been a gauntlet preparing and playing, and certainly proud to represent the Big Ten, Rutgers University, and all our alumni when we take the field.
All right, up next, Terence Floyd.
Coach Brecht, the matchup on Saturday against Penn was kind of all about how midfield oriented their offense is. For Cornell, it's kind of the opposite. They're very attack oriented. Can you talk about how that'll affect your defensive game plan?
Yeah, no, you're right. Certainly you can look at Cornell's attack, and all three of them have been prolific scorers throughout the year and been a big part of their success. So I think every game has going to have challenges. Penn really operated out of the midfield as you stated, and I think as the previous question, I think the Big Ten prepares us. There's a lot of talented attackmen and midfielders in the Big Ten. There's a lot of different game planning going on from game to game, week to week. So just another opportunity to put a talented team with a dynamic personnel on the attack, as well as they got a big strong midfielder, some bounce and quick change of direction guys. So I think we need to take care of Rutgers as our guys have always done, and play to our strengths. And we've matched up with some talented attackmen in the Big Ten. The Big Ten conference has prepared us well, and we just need to understand our opponent just like always. Our guys do a great job with their focus and preparation, and we got 60 minutes guaranteed on Saturday to go out and play the best we can.
Next, again, Michael Cohen.
Hi, Coach. Could you talk a little about Ross Scott? And he's had a tremendous season for you. What his impact could be for this game?
Yeah, no, certainly he's been an impact, the whole year for us. So we're excited with what he's been able to provide us, going from midfield to attack and having the ball in the stick a lot more. His decision making has been great. He's certainly learned from a couple of great ones over the years. Kirst and Mullins and Sean Beatties did a great job mentoring him, and proud of the steps he's made, and going to lean on him as we go through the weekend.
And we have time for one more here with Christian Sweezy.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Just quickly, I know you're a Long Island guy. Were you aware of the friendship between Coach Moran and Coach Hayes?
Yeah, no, certainly was, and it's funny. A lot is said about. I grew up on Long Island. I went to Tom Hayes's lacrosse camps growing up as a younger youth player and high school player. But I also went to the Quick Stick lacrosse camp that Richie Moran had, and a matter of fact, there was a coach and a camp counselor there for a long time. Richie used to have a bus that went up from Elmont at Olympic Den, with all the Long Island players. So he used to have me, chaperone the bus ride from Olympic Den in Elmont up to the camp each year. So I've coached and worked his camp for a number of years when I was a college player and a young assistant coach.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. I really appreciate it. You're all set.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. We'll see you in Connecticut. Okay, next up will be the Cornell head coach, Coach Connor Busick. Coach, were you able to jump on and join us here? You could raise your hand, Coach, if you've. Perfect. Gotcha. Coach Busick, how's it going? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us here. We'll start you off again just with an opening statement, Coach.
Yeah, we're excited for the opportunity to be in Connecticut this weekend. Been proud of our group, the resiliency they've showed, and the hard work they've put in. Obviously, it's been a long couple of years since we competed going into this year. So, proud of our group for what we've accomplished up to this point, and we're excited for the opportunity this weekend.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. All right, now we'll open up for questions. Again, use the same raise the hand feature for questions for Coach Busick. All right, starting off with Michael Cohen.
Hi, Coach. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
First question for you is you're going up against Rutgers, a team that's been very good all year. They score a lot. What are your thoughts about facing the Scarlet Knights, and how do you feel your team can match up against them?
Yeah, they're a solid team. They do a great job in so many different areas, and they put a lot of pressure on you from the time they get the ball, throughout the entire offensive set. And so, we respect the hell out of that team. They're going to be great at the little things. They push the pace, they play hard, they pick up tough ground balls. They got a great goalie. So I think they're certainly going to be a matchup problem. But I think we match up all right. I think for us, we got to win that transition game and make sure we're not giving away easy ones. And then from there, if we can settle into the half field sets, see what we can do. But certainly there's a challenge that they just put you under pressure for 60 minutes. And so it's up to us and our guys to make smart decisions and play well in the middle of the field, so you're not giving away those opportunities where they seem to thrive and really get the momentum going.
Michael, if you have another question you'd like to ask Coach, you can go ahead and do so now.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Coach, the history of Cornell has been, one of the preeminent programs in the country for that matter. Just your thoughts of, picking up with that legacy and trying to continue that kind of success?
Yeah, sure. It's certainly the responsibility that we all live with here. This is such a proud program and a program with such rich tradition. We're fortunate to be, holding the banner for this program right now. So obviously, growing up in it, being a part of it as a player, being on the staff for many years now, it's a great honor for us and something that we hold near and dear. And obviously with the passing of Coach Moran, makes it that much more top of mind right now in honoring the legends that we've had in our program. So we're excited to be back on championship weekend with the opportunity to hopefully do something we haven't done in a while, and basically, continue to honor those guys by the way that we play. Again, it's not the wins and the losses, it's not the X's and O's, but the toughness, the grit that we can show on the field between the lines, in all those hustle categories is something that certainly pays homage to all those that came before us.
Next up, Terence Floyd.
Connor, how do you regard the nature of this matchup in terms of your defense versus their offense? Against Harvard, Russ Scott had 8 goals and certainly, scored in a variety of ways and has been a little bit of a quarterback / catalyst for them. But then against Penn, they were a little bit more equally distributed in terms of their production. So how does that affect your approach?
Yeah, I think they've got some fantastic players, and obviously Ross Scott has the ability to be the quarterback and really stir the drink, but they've got plenty of other options. And so for us, I think it's going to be the same as everything, right? You try to play your 7 against their 6, and you try to, manage sliding decisions, and you try to manage matchups as well as you can. But realistically, they're a very complete team. They've got a ton of guys that put pressure on you, and they've got Ross Scott behind, but Knobloch up top, and a handful of other guys that just constantly keep that pressure on you. So whether it's the subbing game, whether it's early offense, whether it's playing throughout sets, they do such a good job. Our hope is that, again, cohesively, our defense can manage those situations, can discuss, what's going on, especially as they play the 2-man games early and continue to put the pressure on throughout. So again, I think the whole goal at the end of the day, just like every other week, just to game plan your 7 against their 6 and hope that you guys prevail.
And back to Michael Cohen, if you have another question for Coach.
Just to piggyback off of one of the questions earlier, speaking about the team's approach. It's you guys do a lot of attacking can you give us kind of some insight how you want to approach going up against Rutgers, again, another team that also does a lot of attacking?
Yeah, I mean, for us, the hope is to play offense the entire time you have the ball, whether that's early transition, whether that's settling in. I think for us, we're at our best when we're sharing the ball and being, disciplined in our approach and not settling for shots. And so I think for us, as you continue to build throughout the season, that's got to be a trademark and a staple to raise your efficiency. So for us, I think less Rutgers specific and more just, focusing on ourselves. We want to be disciplined and we want to make sure that we're putting the pressure on and maybe not settling for those first opportunities, but working for great ones throughout. And even whether that's 10 seconds in the shot clock or whether that's 75 seconds in the shot clock, want to make sure we're creating and finishing our opportunities.
USA Lacrosse.
Hi, Connor. This is Matt Hamilton. Just want to ask you about CJ Kurse. Obviously, great season as a freshman, but what were your expectations for him going into the season? And, how happy are you with how he stepped up, particularly late in this season?
Yeah, we knew he was going to be an impact player for us. Obviously, losing someone like Jeff Teed on that lefty wing leaves a massive hole in your offense. But CJ's admirably filled into that role and done a great job. He does things differently than Jeff did and has different talents and skills, but still fills the role incredibly well and has been a huge catalyst for the success our offense has had this year. So realistically, proud of his maturation, the way he's played. We knew he had a lot of the intangibles and a lot of the skills to succeed at this level, but truly his competitive nature, his work ethic, his relentless, desire to be great has truly catapulted him from just having a good rookie season to, being Ivy League Rookie of the Year and probably on his way to hopefully an All-American honor. So a guy that we lean on heavily for his experience or inexperience, I guess I should say, as he is, but a guy that just takes it all in stride, works his tail off, is a great teammate, does all the right things. So again, he's been a huge piece of who we've become. And obviously for a young guy to step into that role has been pretty big for us.
All right, we got about 8 minutes left remaining. Any additional questions here for Coach Busick? Oh, here we go. Brian, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, Coach, this is Brian Fonseca from NJ.com. I understand your father played football at Rutgers back in the 80s. Did he have any influence on you? Did you grow up a Rutgers fan or anything of that connection to Rutgers? And does that familiar connection to Rutgers, add anything to this weekend's matchup?
Yeah, I grew up spending a lot of time around Rutgers football and lacrosse for that matter. So grew up a Rutgers fan for sure. And followed them all the way throughout, and so certainly adds something to this matchup. Certainly comes full circle. Growing up in a house that was Scarlet Knights fans and spent a lot of time in Piscataway. So very, very cool connection, and for it to all come full circle, this will be the first time in my college playing or coaching career that we played Rutgers. So cool opportunity, and obviously a program and a university that secondarily kind of shaped me in my life.
Thanks.
Any additional questions for Coach Busick? We'll go back to Terence Floyd.
To kind of revisit some of the tactical approach, certainly at the other end of the field, and you've kind of touched on this a little bit already, but Rutgers has to shift from preparing for Penn, which is very midfield oriented, to preparing for you guys, which tend to be more attack oriented. What does that do from the standpoint of watching film of last week's game and trying to determine or for lack of a better way of putting it, guess as to what their approach is going to be? And are there other games, specifically, say, Rutgers, Ohio State, that you feel like are going to be particularly helpful in terms of informing your approach or your expectations for how they're going to approach you?
Yeah, I think, just their body work. By the time you get to this weekend, I think you kind of know who everybody is at their core. Again, obviously last week, a little more of a midfield driven approach by Penn. Like you mentioned, you go back to Ohio State, you kind of see a lot of the big little and how they're going to manage stuff behind the goal. And again, I think each tape and each game plan kind of tell the story. But for the most part, teams at this point aren't too gimmicky. There's not much changing. There's not much that's really flowing. And so for us, it's going to be dialing into where we think our advantages could be, and having a kind of a list of things that might try to pick on. But overall, they're a heck of a team. They do a great job on the ball. That they cover up well off the ball. They got a great goalie, and so certainly they're going to put you. They're going to challenge you to make plays if you're going to score on that defense. And again, you kind of put the body of work together that over the last say month or so, and try to get a better understanding of just how they're going to approach you. But again, that's why we play the game. You'll get in there and have to make in-game adjustments and decide what's working, what's not. But at this point, we hope to have a relatively strong idea of who that defense is as a whole.
Okay, if you have any additional questions, you can move forward with those if you'd like. All right, we'll move on to Christian here.
Thank you, Connor. May I ask you the T-shirts you've been wearing on the sideline and the players, it's great to be here with Coach Moran. May I ask you how that idea came about?
Yeah, when Coach passed, obviously we wanted to make sure we did something to recognize and keep top of mind how important Coach was to this program. And so obviously his kind of classic saying seemed like the most fitting way to honor him and keep, keep his incredible influence on his program, where our guys' heads are at. And that's always been his thing. It's kind of the impression that he's left here, that it's great to be here, whether it's, raining or snowing or sleeting or beautiful out, whether it's practice in the morning, in the evening, in the cow barns, whatever that might look like. For us, it was truly, it's great to be here. And so that's kind of the approach we've taken down the stretch is, each week is an opportunity and a blessing. And so it's truly great to be here. So it made a lot of sense to put that on the shirts and to, continue to wear those to honor his memory throughout the remainder of the season.
Thank you.
We have time for a couple more questions here. Emmett Siegel, you can go next.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask you about, what you're building overall long-term. And just as, the youngest coach in Division I lacrosse, already making it to championship weekend, and now, retiring from your professional playing career, really to focus on this. One, do you feel like maybe this, you definitely made the right decision retiring just to focus on this now that you've, made it this far? And also, what does it mean to see a coach of your age have so much success early on?
Yeah, in terms of what we're building, we're hoping to just build on the incredible tradition that is Cornell lacrosse. It's a lot of the reason I came here as a player in the first place, and a lot of the things that I've learned and the man that I've become is because of the lessons of this program and the expectations and the standards here. And so for us, we're obviously hoping to put our fingerprints on that, but to not stray too far from who we are and what we're about. So for us, we want to be hardworking and tough in between the lines and make sure that we're setting the standard for what it means to be a hardworking group. So again, nothing new here. The blueprint's been well laid out, but for us, just important that we continue to honor those that came before us and honor that Cornell lacrosse tradition. In terms of my playing career, certainly, playing on this weekend would add another curveball if I was still playing. So perfectly comfortable with that decision. I had a heck of a run and was fortunate to play as long as I have. But for my professional career as a coach and for these guys here, they deserve 100% of me. And I wasn't sure if I could continue to give 100% of myself to both organizations. And so it was time to make a choice. And so again, I'm fortunate to be sitting in the seat that I am. I'm fortunate to be working at a program that is so near and dear to my heart. And truly, it's a career of passion and love for this place. We're surrounded by great people, whether that's in our locker room, in our coach's room, in our support staff. And so, the success that we're having this year is just a tribute to all those people that have come together to be part of our organization and has helped push us forward through, the oddness and the chaos of last year into this year.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. I really appreciate it. That wraps up Coach Busick here from Cornell, and we'll move on to Coach Tillman from Maryland. So Coach Busick, really appreciate it. We'll see you in Connecticut.
Thank you.
All right, Coach Tillman, were you able to join us here? If you could raise your hand so we could make you an admin, that'd be great. Hey, Josh, I see you on here. Could you help us get Coach Tillman on here?
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Again, everybody, up next will be Maryland's head coach, John Tillman. Just waiting for him to jump on and join us here. All right, here's Coach Tillman. I'm going to make him a panelist. So every time I go to make him a panelist, he disappears. Josh, just want to make sure that he is able to log into that link.
Yeah, he says it just says rejoining.
Okay.
I don't know.
Coach Tillman, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yeah, I tried to do the pass thing and then it just froze up on me.
Okay, I think we see and hear you now.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Thanks for joining us here. If you could just give us a brief general statement to kick us off here, and then we'll get started with the question and answers.
Sure. Obviously, very excited to have our program and our school and our team be part of championship weekend. Always a special opportunity. So to be part of that and to go to the last weekend in May is super special. So excited about another week together and excited about the big challenge ahead of us in playing such a really good Princeton team. Trying to do our best to get rested up after a long trip out to Ohio and a late game. And I think we got back at 3 a.m. On Sunday night. So trying to get rested up, but also prepare as we can to get ready and play a great team on Saturday.
Thanks, Coach. We'll start out with Emmett Siegel.
Hey, Coach. Having played Princeton earlier in the season, how much do you take away from a game all the way back in February to a game now in late May?
I think on one side, at least you get a little bit of sense of some of the personnel. So that is helpful and stylistically what they're doing. But on the other hand, it's early. The Ivies play, they start later. And I think they've improved greatly from that point in time. They did have a couple guys injured. Two of their face-off guys, their top two guys, did not play. And I think that is a big difference as well. So, again, taking what we can from it, but realizing this team is a lot better than the first time we played, and we're going to have to play our best game of the year to come out with a win.
All right. Any additional questions here for Coach Tillman? Again, please use the raise hand feature if you would like to ask Coach Tillman a question. All right, we'll go back to Emmett.
A lot of people like to speculate on playing the second game of the semifinals as being a disadvantage. And you obviously have a ton of experience doing so. Do you look at that as an advantage or disadvantage in any way?
Obviously, I think if you asked any coach, would you like to play the first game or second game? You'd always take the first game, but we obviously haven't been given that choice. I'm not sure what the protocols are. I guess I'd have to ask the question, who makes that decision? I never seem to get an answer of why. But I've always been raised, you get what you get, you control what you can control. And this is what we've been given. So we're going to make the best of our situation that we can. But I'd love to just get some sort of explanation. But again, like I said, the focus now has to be that decision's made. So we've got to play as hard as we can to get a W. And if we don't, we go home. So we really can't focus on that. We just got to focus on preparing for Princeton.
Up next, Logan Hill.
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to ask about, this will be the first time you guys have the potential to have back-to-back games since the Big Ten tournament. How do you keep your team so locked in to not trying to look to Monday, to making sure that Saturday is where we got to focus and Saturday is where we have to handle our business first?
Yeah, I think the guys knowing how good Princeton is and knowing that, they weren't at full strength the last time. I think the guys know how good they are. And they also, they realize, listen, they've got a big advantage. They played Saturday. We had to play Sunday, the very last game, and didn't get home till 3 a.m. Some of them didn't get to bed till 5. So I think Princeton has a big advantage, almost a day head start for them. So for us, we've got to do the best we can to manage our rest, but our preparation and realize we've got a road. And last year, we were in the same spot, and we definitely realize how hard that is. So, we've just got to stay focused in on, regardless of the advantage or disadvantage, you got what you got, and let's just make sure that we do the best that we can to try to get ready for a really good team.
All right, up next, Christian Sweezy.
John, I have unfortunately a rather dumb question, but the RM on your hat, is that for Coach Moran? And if so, could you just talk maybe a little bit about him?
Sure. Yeah, that is, Coach Moran is a Maryland grad. So when he passed, I think we all hurt knowing that one of the all-time greats and a person that's beloved here, passed away. And then I was fortunate enough to play for Coach when I was at Cornell. So a guy that had a huge impact on me in so many ways. My way to honor him and thank him for all that he's done for me, certainly would not be doing what I'm doing without him. So, my small tribute, and it's just small, I could never repay him for all the things that he's done for me, the opportunity presented him, I was presented with, but also what I learned, the person I grew into, the experiences I had, the friends I made. I'm so thankful for that experience, and I can never repay him for that. I was able to see him last October at the Upstate Hall of Fame dinner and spend some time with him. And I knew, obviously, he was going through some challenges. So to be able to connect with him was super special in October and spend some time with him. And I'm going to miss him at the Tewaaraton. I always enjoyed seeing him there. He'd always make the trip down. So, it's going to be a little sad to not see him there as part of the committee. I love going every year to honor, the sport and obviously those great players, but the people are what kind of make the sport, and truly lost a special guy and a guy that, again, I'm so indebted to.
Thank you.
All right, we have about 5 minutes left here for Coach Tillman. Any additional questions? We'll go to Terence Floyd.
John, from a tactical standpoint, how do you expect Princeton's defense to play you guys and potentially match up against you from a personnel standpoint?
Yeah, they're and Coach Benson said they're kind of a who's who in terms of the recruiting. Just a lot of really athletic, tough defenders. They don't seem to be sliding a whole lot, so you've got to earn slides, and you got to work hard to get leverage on them. At times they'll press out and they'll challenge you. So we've got to withstand that. They're super, athletic, and they're physical, and they're tough. Their short sticks are athletic. Number of guys that used to play offense, but now play defense. And so not only are they really good playing one-on-one defense, they're really good in the clearing and with the early offense and transition. So, you got to have your work cut out for you to get good shots. And their goalie is as good a goalie as we've seen all year. He had a great game when we played him. So, you're going to have to work hard to get good shots, and you've got to finish those shots. And it's not easy. And it's a credit to them. And again, with them facing off the way that they do, and then with the way they play offense, you're not going to get that many opportunities. They're super patient and disciplined on offense. They really make you work. And at times we struggled with them. So again, we've got to have a really good week of prep and be fun on both ends of the field.
Terence, if you have another question, you can move forward and ask that now.
Yeah. So you mentioned their willingness to press out on you. Which game or opponent from this season would you say has tried to pressure your offense the most?
I don't know. Well, I'd have to kind of go out and I'd go back and look at it. We've seen just about everything. Last week, with getting ready for Virginia, we prepared for a couple different things. We felt like, you played them once, the wrinkles that you could see. So, and we had to do that in the Big Tens as well. So, you do a lot of, hypotheticals. So we practiced a lot of zone last week. We also practiced for a lot of pressure because Virginia is so long and athletic. So, we saw some of that there. We've seen some of against her, an athletic team as well. Princeton is athletic. So, Penn State is typically one of those teams that is aggressive as well. So we've tried to play a good variety of teams stylistically. So that does help you get ready. I think Notre Dame is a very athletic defense as well. They do a great job. So I think those are some of the ones that maybe we are pressure and athleticism, and Princeton is as athletic as a talent all year. And they gelling at the right time. I think the break they got, I think we when you're not, you get that rest and you see how well Princeton's responded. Been terrific since then. And the staff do a great job. Does an awesome job with the offense. That time, and they really have come out of it. And you've seen what they've done in the playoffs. Done a great job. Yale. So they're really humming at the right time, playing a lot of confidence, playing fast. So they look like just a really refreshed team.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach Tillman. We've reached 10:45, so we're going to get you out of here. We really appreciate you jumping on and joining us, and we'll see you in Connecticut.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. We'll see you.
Bye.
Okay, next up on the list will be Coach Madelon from Princeton. Coach, are you on and able to join us here? And if you are, could you please raise your hand so we can make you a panelist? Give Coach a couple more minutes to jump on and join us here. Coach Madelon, were you able to jump on and join us here? Looks like we got him here. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Hey, morning. Sorry, just
No, you're okay. You're okay.
we've got graduation, so we're just bouncing around. But
Oh yeah, no, busy times on campus for sure. But we appreciate you joining us here. Coach, if you could just kick us off just with the opening statement, that'd be great.
Sure. I mean, obviously, back at championship weekend for Princeton, it's a really special moment for our program, our alumni, the university. So we're really thrilled. It's been quite a road this season. Obviously, just bouncing back after the COVID year and with the schedule we played, and obviously missing the Ivy League tournament to find ourselves our name called Selection Sunday and an opportunity to take a run at this has been really special. So we're just thrilled we get to practice and hang with our guys for another week, and we're very much looking forward to the weekend.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. All right, we'll turn it over to the media here for the Q&A. Again, please use the raise hand function and we'll be selected on, and you can go ahead and move forward with your question for Coach Madelon. All right, starting off with Kyle Franco.
Hey, Matt, Kyle Franco at the Trentonian. My question for you is, this was asked of Brian Brecht as well, but there's going to be 2 New Jersey schools there. What is that like for lacrosse in the state?
We couldn't be more proud. I mean, Brian Brecht's done an outstanding job with his program. We actually used to play a midweek game, and we both agreed, to move it to a weekend to continue to highlight New Jersey lacrosse and 2 premier programs in the state. So, with Monmouth and NJIT as well, we've even spoke about a 4-way tournament like they did with some of those Long Island teams, but just really proud of both the programs. And, obviously with Coach Mitchell on our staff and a former Rutgers guy, I know he's pretty proud for those guys too.
All right, again, for the media, please use the raise hand function if you'd like to ask Coach a question here. All right, go to Terence Floyd.
Matt, congratulations. From a program perspective, and you talked a little bit about this post game on Saturday, but just a little bit more on specifically, what have you heard from your alums over the course of the last 2 days in terms of their excitement to see this program back on this stage?
I mean, everyone's just really thrilled. We've got a lot of outreach and support, and it was really remarkable. We had reunions is a really big deal on Princeton's campus, and it's a celebration of all alumni that come back, and it happened to be this past weekend. And the amount of folks that left reunions and came over to the quarterfinals over to Hempstead to watch was just remarkable. I mean, it gives me the chills right now. So it means the world for our program. I mean, we have such a proud and storied alumni group and alumni base that continues to help our program day in and day out. So for us to get this group back to the national stage and back to championship weekend, I think makes everybody proud. So we're just really grateful. I mean, we're in the position we are. We're such a high-end organization from Division I athletics and within the university. And that's, it's all attributed to our alumni support. So we're just really proud to be able to get this group back for these guys.
And Terrence,
And
yeah,
if
you
I
can move
may,
forward. Yep, with the next question.
yeah, to follow up on that, how do your players regard it? One of the aspects of it having been 10 years from having made it to the NCAA tournament and 18 to get back to the Final Four means that, for your freshmen, they don't have the same memories. Just as an aside, like I remember there were times when I was growing up watching Princeton routinely make it to the Final Four where I was in a position where I was like, oh man, I'd like to see a different team just for variety's sake. And now you guys kind of represent that, you know what I mean? And how do your players regard understanding the tradition, but maybe not having firsthand memories of it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, look, it's, with our seniors and juniors and even some sophomores that had kind of navigated life through the COVID year and those families and all the sacrifice. And then you bring in this young group of guys, this fresh blood that really didn't have to deal with that. I mean, they did throughout high school, but I think just our senior crew, our senior captains, and the stewardship we have within our program from the top down really makes it a pretty inclusive group and gets these guys humming at a high end pretty quickly. We really believe in that, trying to create the best teams. So, but in terms of the history and the tradition, I think that becomes very prevalent in the recruiting process. We talk about the history, we talk about the tradition, but we also talk about having an opportunity to make our own history and uphold the tradition. So I think it's just about upholding the tradition and the storied success that Princeton has had, but just continue to get back at work and cherish the opportunity for our season, in this year.
All right, we'll move on to Joe. Joe, you can move forward with your question.
Yes, congratulations on getting to the Final Four, Coach. What specifically about Maryland worries you? My word, not your word, but what do you think about most, or what do you have to prepare most for Maryland?
It's just such a well-coached group. It's such a well-run team. Their consistency year in and year out of making it to championship weekend. It's just not surprising with how Coach Tillman, Coach Bernhardt, and Coach Benson have, with the job they do over there. So for us, it's creating the best version of ourselves and trying to limit the mistakes. But Maryland really does an outstanding job of attacking in all facets of the game. So it's just a really complete program and a really complete team that's really playing at a high level. So we've just got to make sure we get our group ready to compete and ready to play and buttoned up in all facets of the game.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to Terrence.
One of the interesting quirks of this matchup is that Coach Mitchell and Coach Bernhardt work together at Rutgers, and now they're kind of game planning against each other. Do you feel like there's an advantage to be had there in terms of who's going to have the upper hand in guessing the opponent's tendency?
Those guys are both absolute true professionals. Coach Bernhardt spent a year here in Princeton on our staff and at his hand in probably recruiting a handful of these guys, and he's coached a handful of these players. So, we're thrilled for the matchup. We're all pretty close in terms of friends. So, I think we're just excited to compete against one another and happy for each other. We're both on this stage.
And Terrence, if you have another question, you can move forward with that too.
Yeah. So just a little bit more tactically, one of the things that, and I asked Coach Tillman this, was just which team had pressed out most on them, because I feel like that's the defensive approach that they've seen the least. And I wonder, your team has shown the propensity to do that at times, and certainly from an athleticism standpoint, seems to have the capacity to do that and to potentially disrupt Maryland's rhythm. How do you regard that as an approach relative to either being a little bit more traditional, or like we saw Virginia employ, utilizing a zone?
Flexible is our identity. We need to be able to be, we need to have the ability to adapt. So, we have been a bit of a high pressure defense these last couple of weeks. I'm not sure we'll necessarily see that going to championship weekend. You'll see components of it, but we just need to make sure we get our guys buttoned up, prepared for what Maryland showed on tape, and then kind of prepare ourselves for, what we think could happen as well. So it's good recognition. I appreciate Terry. We have been a little bit of a high pressure defense recently, but Maryland's a tough, they've got weapons all over the field, and a very athletic group and a group with a lot of speed too. So we've got to take that all into account in terms of how and when we're going to use our pressure.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left here for Coach. Again, if you guys would like to ask him a question, please use the raise hand feature. All right, back to Joe.
So obviously upsets happen in sports, and Maryland is favored clearly. How do you convince your guys that you not only can beat Maryland, but will beat Maryland?
Really doesn't take a lot of convincing with this group. This is a pretty hungry, dialed group all year. We came into the season unranked, not a lot of respect. So we've kind of had that chip on our shoulder all year. I don't think much is going to change. It's a great team, but next opponent for us.
And then we'll move on to Matt.
Hey, what's up? Matt Kinnear here. Coach, I apologize if this was asked. I got a little late, but the role that your short sticks play in this defense and just, all across the field, can you talk a little bit about that and how they've maybe shined in this kind of run of great defensive performances?
Hey, Matt. No, it hadn't been asked. No, and I appreciate that. I mean, we think really highly of our short stick. We think really highly of the short stick position, short stick defensive midfield position in general. We think it's arguably the most important position on any Division I lacrosse team currently. These guys get attacked on ball in the defensive end. They get attacked off ball. They've got to clear the ball. They've got the shoulder to load in the decision-making in early offense and transition. So we put it at a premium in our program. We've really tried to develop guys, and we've got two former offensive players, Bo Pedersen, a former attackman, and Luke Crimmins, a former offensive midi, kind of headlining that group for us. And then we've got some young guys in Marquez White, Bo Pedersen, and Joe Youngerkiss that are just physical, great athletes, and really continuing to get better every day. So it is, and you look at Maryland's side of the ball, I believe, they've got 3 guys drafted at that position. So it should be an absolute battle. It should be a great game with great defensive midfield units on either side of it. But going to be a huge part of it. Whoever we decide to short stick and whoever they decide to short stick, I think both offensive groups, have some speed and power. So those guys will really be put to the test on both sides, on both teams.
All right, we have about a couple minutes left. Time for a couple more questions here for Coach. We'll start with Terence, and then we'll go back to Matt.
Any thought on representing the Ivy League, and particularly the role of the storyline that there were 6 Ivy League teams invited to the tournament, and now there are 2 remaining in the Final Four?
It's really remarkable. We're obviously really proud as a university and the staff, and we believe this bodes well for the future of Ivy League lacrosse and recruiting. But we're all a little shocked with how successful the Ivy League was. I think that we had spoken a handful of times throughout the year, being like, "Holy cow, we're still trying to figure this thing out through the fall. We're trying to figure this out early spring." And then to see Selection Sunday to have 6 teams called, it was really remarkable. And again, we were just blessed to have our name called.
All right, back to Matt.
Hey, Matt, with your experience playing in the Final Four, how much of that have you kind of relayed what the moment means to your players? And then along with that, just like as a goalie, what has it been like watching the goalie performances the past few weeks? Because they've been pretty standout.
Holy cow. I'll start with the goalies. The goalies have been incredible throughout this NCAA tournament, and even watching the Ivy League tournament and watching some of the conference tournament, the goalie play, it's at the highest level I've seen in college lacrosse. Way better than I was when I played back in the day. I haven't made it much about me with our group. I try to think back. I was a young guy. I try to think back to the experiences I had, and I mentioned it a couple times in the media just about how much it impacted the Roanoke program, as much as when we made it our junior year to a Final Four. In my sophomore year, the year I transferred down there, I believe we were a 7-8 team. So to turn it around and make a Final Four my junior year and then do it again the senior year, I think just coming back in that senior year, when you enter the fall, you've got such a different perspective and expectation on the length of the season, the grind, the process. So that's what I'm most excited for our group, but that's kind of a future message. So I really haven't shared that much. We had a pretty good vibe going into the quarterfinal round. We put a heck of a lot of pressure on us in the first round, playing a really good BU team that we had played before. So I think just going into last weekend in the quarterfinal round, playing Yale, we kind of felt it was meant to be. It was a program that we hadn't beat. Nobody on our roster had beat that group. So really just focused the efforts there. But I really haven't shared much perspective in terms of it. I'm just excited for our guys to have this experience, and they seem to be enjoying it, and they do have their heads around it. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Coach. We've reached the 11 o'clock hour here, so you are all set with us, and we really appreciate you joining us, and we will look forward to seeing you in Connecticut.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the questions. Thanks, you. Appreciate the coverage.
All right. Now we're going to move on to our Division II teams here, and we have Coach JB Clark here, so we'll bring him in. Coach Clark, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. No, so I'm glad you're here. Glad you're able to join us. And yeah, we just want to have you start off just with an opening statement for us.
Well, I'd first of all like to say how honored and privileged we feel as a program to be in the championship weekend. What the NCAA does with this for our student athletes is unique, and certainly an amazing opportunity for our guys and all those involved. I think sometimes we take for granted in our sport, because we've had this championship weekend for so many years, just how special it is. And we as a program, and certainly myself as a coach, thrilled to be here and grateful for all the hard work behind the scenes to allow us to do this.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Now we'll turn over to the media again, and please use the raise hand function if you have any questions for Coach Clark. And it looks like we'll start out here with Matt. Matt, you can go ahead with your question.
JB, how's it going?
Good, Matt. How are you?
I'm great. I'll just start kind of the simple question, or maybe not so simple question. Mercy, what impresses you about them? What scares you? What do they do that you're really focusing in on for this weekend?
That's a great question. And Matt, you've asked me these in the past, and honestly, right now, we're still pretty focused on us. Sorry about that. My staff left his phone in here and it went off. We're just now starting to dive into Mercy, so I don't have any real particulars. Obviously, they, with just one loss on the year to a really good Lemoyne team, beating a Lemoyne team in double overtime this weekend, I would say to you that in general, my concerns are how mature and how poised they have to be in order to beat a Lemoyne team like they did on Sunday. So, we're not playing just some rookies that are out there running around. As far as personnel goes, it's a team that plays really well together. Yes, they have some superstars, but more than anything, it's how they play together. Their team defense is phenomenal. When you watch them just a little bit, as I have, it appears that you're always dodging against six guys. It's rarely are they isolated in a one-on-one situation. So from that standpoint, the team defense is very impressive. Their athleticism, their strength to short stick D midi position in particular, and then their goalie is he's really good. He baits you into taking some shots you don't want to take after you shoot them. So I'd say those are the main concerns right now. Offensively, a couple superstars, but they share the ball. They make some plays. When you watch them score goals, more often than not, you're like, wow, how did they do that? So I think you can settle in and take away the simple plays, but these are the guys that make those phenomenal, exceptional plays.
All right, we're going to move on to Dan here. Dan, you can move forward with your question.
Coach Clark, thanks so much for taking the time here.
Of course, Dan.
It's obviously such a unique story, going to the title in your first year with the program. I'm just curious how you were able to come in and have guys buy in so much and, have the season that you've had so far, so quickly and find that success.
Yeah, I think, Dan, it's not to be too simplistic with the answer, but I inherited. I walked into a great locker room. When you're on the outside looking into any program, especially when you play each other as much as Tampa and Limestone did, you have a perception of the program. You have a perception of the young men in the program. And frankly, mine couldn't have been more wrong. This group of seniors in particular welcomed myself, my family, the staff that I brought in with open arms. And to say buy-in I'm not sure that does justice to the sacrifices, the eagerness, the maturity that these seniors really embraced when we got here. And we didn't, it looks like a lot of changes, but there aren't really that many changes. The biggest one I would say that I really focused on, and I don't know how much they focused on this in the past, but we wanted to be team led. We wanted to have, because of our large number of seniors and the maturity in the program, we wanted our group to be led internally. So they've been able to do that obviously very, very well, with some guidance, obviously. And I get a lot of guidance from my mentors still on how to do that. But I would say the biggest thing is just the maturity and the eagerness of especially the upperclassmen to be leaders, to be good followers when they needed to be, and to really, work with us and join us on this journey. Does that answer the question, Dan?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go back to Matt.
JB, with Matthew Bedeau, he had, his plays on the wing. He had a goal and assist last week. I think one of them came right after Limestone kind of was starting to get some momentum and make a run. But just how much can he be a game changer with those type of plays?
Yeah, and Matt, he does it in so many ways, whether it's just, there are times where he just clears the ball and you're like, how the heck did he do that? Or, he does strip a guy here or there. He comes out of there with a ground ball. You don't even know he's around. He is dangerous, obviously, when he gets over the midline. And that's just him being a phenomenal athlete. And I would say his greatest strength so far this year has been his, his learning curve has been great. He came into the year and everybody was always giving him a bunch of crap because he didn't have any goals. So in the fall, it was every time he touched the ball, it seemed that he was going to run down and shoot no matter what the situation. And he's done a really good job of learning when to and when not to try to take advantage of those opportunities he gets. He does play all over the field. He's sometimes, some games he's a long stick midfielder. Sometimes he's on the wing of faceoffs. Sometimes he's a close defender, not on the wing of faceoffs. His adaptability and his willingness to be educable. I think really as much as any accolade we could give Matthew, his willingness, his humility, to be taught how to do things better or do them the right way has really been phenomenal.
Matt, if you have any additional questions, you can move forward and ask those.
Great. Yeah, I do. With championship and all that goes around with it, what's the balance of, you have a tremendous amount of experience being there as a coach. Your players don't have that experience being there as players. How can you balance that and use what you know about the event of championship to best prepare these guys?
Well, I think we have to talk about these things. It's like, when you make the playoffs, everybody's like, well, don't talk about playing for the championship because, you don't want to put the cart before the horse and all those things, Matt. But if we're not talking with them about these things, they're certainly talking amongst themselves. They're certainly hearing it from their parents and their friends and, past teammates and whatnot. So, we're going to talk a lot about the weekend. We're going to talk a lot about, the outside things that are going to try and pull them away from focusing on the task at hand. And we're going to, because if we don't, then the message is whatever message comes from outside. So for me, it's been such a learning curve, from, I know you were talking with Coach Madelon a little bit earlier, and I was talking to my wife about it. 1992 was my first time in a championship weekend. Roanoke played Nazareth. It was the first time they ever had Division III. It was at UPenn. So I'm hearkening all the way back to those things and the things that Bill Pilot and everybody else then taught us, through Dave Cottle when I was at Loyola. We played Maryland up there at Rutgers in the Final Four. So, and then through NFL stadiums, and what the logistics of those are like. So I do have a lot of things to draw back on. Every team is unique. Every set of leaders is unique. These guys, I couldn't believe the way they played on Sunday, with a total lack of regard for all those extra outside things. They weren't phased in the least bit. I didn't have one problem last week of overconfidence or nerves. They were the same group they'd been all along, and we're going to try and kind of replicate the last few weeks schedule wise as much as possible, even with a Thursday travel and all those things. But so far, so good.
All right, move on to Jeremiah Johnson.
Coach, you mentioned how quickly everyone embraced you, specifically the players. I wonder if you could go back and think to that first meeting that you had with them, and was this something that was mentioned then? Because it does seem like you're someone that wants to put those goals out there. And I also, as a follow-up, wanted to ask a little bit about that book that you had all the players read.
Yeah, well, thanks, Jeremiah. I remember the first meeting very well because it was a Zoom meeting, right? Traditionally, it would have been sometime in August when they got to school and I had to stand up in front of them. But the beauty of COVID, I guess. So, the first Zoom meeting, one of the first things I told them, and I forget where I'd heard this, I certainly didn't come up with it on my own, but, we, meaning myself and my wife, we recognize that these guys didn't necessarily choose us, but I wanted them to know right away that we chose them, that it was in our hearts, and we are people of faith, so we do believe that there's a higher power that puts you into situations, and we felt like we were entering one of those, and how excited we were to get to know them as human beings and to help them achieve some of their goals and wants and wishes. They were, it's hard to know what they were thinking or, their body language over Zoom, but they had questions, they had interaction. It was very comfortable right from the get-go. And I hope it was for them as well, because when we got to campus, it was easy. I can't even explain to you how easy it's been. A lot of the credit goes to our administration, and keeping Ryan Sullivan around as the assistant. He'd been here 4 or 5 years before I got here, so probably the best thing I've done in my time here. No, definitely the best thing I've done in my time here was keeping Ryan Sullivan around. Obviously, he's a terrific lacrosse coach, but an even better person. These guys love Ryan Sullivan. He loves them, and he made it a lot easier for my family and I to come in here and get to work. Question about the book, right?
Oh yeah, if you don't mind, when did you? Is that something you've always done with your teams, or did you just pick that up recently?
No, I've been doing that for years. We did it at Limestone with a number of different books. This was a new book for me. It's called Chop Wood, Carry Water. It's about the process of becoming great and getting the, achieving the goals that you have. It's one thing to go out and say, I'm going to run a marathon. If you're like me, you can't say I'm going to go out and run a marathon and accomplish it this weekend. There's a lot of things that go into it. They were terrific about communicating. We broke them up into small groups, about a chapter a week. They communicated both via Zoom and, when guys couldn't, they would send in their thoughts and ideas about that chapter through email. And I left it up to them. I wasn't checking in on it. I wasn't involved in their Zoom calls when they did have them until they got to campus. And then we started to look at some of the thoughts that they had. And the participation was awesome. And I knew right then and there that we had a group that was eager to move forward. So I think the book was very important. I think the message of the book was very important. Frankly, I'm glad that they took it the way they did, because I can't wait to move on to the next book this summer.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach, we're at 11:15. So you are all set, but we really do appreciate you jumping on here and joining us here for a couple of minutes, and we look forward to seeing you in Connecticut.
My pleasure. Thank you. Let me know if I can do anything. We're grateful for your coverage. Very, very much so.
Sounds good, Coach. We really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, up next, we'll have the head coach for Mercy, Coach Jordan Levine. Hey, Coach.
How are you?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thank you.
Good, right now, that's awesome. Well, we really appreciate you jumping on here, taking the time to join us here. And what we'll do is we'll kick it off with the opening statement. So, yep, just give us some general comments and opening statement, and we'll be ready to go.
Yeah. Listen, we're just really excited to be have the opportunity to compete for a national championship. We went through some really tough games, and really our quarterfinal game and our semifinal game could have went either way. And I'm just really proud of our guys' resilience, and kept working hard, made the plays they needed to, and really earned their way into our first ever national championship appearance.
Awesome. That's great, Coach. And now we'll get started with the Q&A. First up here, we have Matt.
Hey, Jordan. You've been there for a decade now. And it seems like it's been a pretty, consistent build to this moment with, obviously ups and downs along the way. Was there a moment that you realized that this was a possibility, being at the championship weekend?
It was always our end goal. I don't know. It almost feels like it still hasn't set in. And I think that's what's been great about our team this year is just even before our Seton Hill game in the quarters and playing Lemoyne in a Final Four, it just felt the guys were loose, and it just had the feel of just another game, which is what you want. And I think our guys thrive on that, where it's just another game and they feel loose and have confidence. There's a bunch of games that you could look back where you first thought, well, maybe. I think the first time in 2019, we beat Lemoyne, and obviously they've been the class of Division II and 6 national championships the last 20 years. So I think when we showed the ability 3 years ago that we could play with the best and win a game like that, I think that gave our team a great deal of confidence. And we're like, like you said, Matt, it's been a slow build. Each year it feels like we've gotten a little bit better, and this was our third straight year in the quarterfinals. Last year we couldn't play in the quarterfinals, unfortunately, because we had a COVID outbreak. So it's just like an extra sense of enjoyment and gratitude to have this opportunity. But to answer your question, yeah, I think that first Lemoyne game in 2019 is when we really believed that, we could compete with anybody.
Matt, I'll let you ask your follow-up here, then we'll move on to Dan Kaplan.
Sure. And you were talking about, the guys, you kind of alluded to the guys staying in the moment a little bit there and the process. You're playing Lemoyne, what you said is the class Division II, and you guys are down late. How, what does it say about this team that you guys have the ability in that pressure of a situation to get the tying goal, to go into overtime? Lemoyne gets defensive stand, and then you still keep with it and win the game. What does it say overall about the team?
I think it shows their resilience. It was funny in years past. I think this team is very mature. There was never a sense of panic on the sideline, even in our timeouts and the double overtime, and even the timeouts. We're down a goal with 42 seconds left, playing against a great defense. It was just that sense of confidence that I alluded to earlier. And, they really never wavered. And that's the bet. I think the consistency the entire season, because we've been through some, a bunch of close games, and I think that experience is big. Obviously, this isn't our first time in an NCAA tournament or our first time in close games where they have that experience to draw from, and they're a veteran group. They're experienced, confident, and focused. So all those things.
All right, move on to Dan.
Coach, thanks again for taking the time to get with us and answer some of our questions. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
I'd like for you to talk a little bit about the dynamic that you guys have at the Face-Off X with PJ and Jason, and how much they feed off of each other and how much they're able to work together to help you guys so much at the X.
Yeah, and this is the first time that, last year we had a second team All-American in Antonio Ray at the Face-Off X, but where I've had two really solid, capable options that could be, starting at almost anywhere in the country. So that's huge. And they do feed off each other. They're good friends. And it's like they're each other's coach and motivator almost, where both those guys are so dialed into their craft where, while say PJ's taking the face off when he's coming to the sideline, Jason's telling him what he sees and, a counter move or what option on the wing line is open. So they have great camaraderie. Our practices are awesome, specifically when we're scrimmaging. It's an absolute battle at the Face-Off X between those two guys. And I think that's what's gotten them, helped them both improve as the year went on. And obviously PJ had a great game against Lemoyne, and it feels like each game in one of our conference playoff games, it was Jason, it's the other's turn. But I think both those guys are pushing each other, supporting each other, which, as a coach, I think is great that, one matchup might not work one day, that you have two really capable options, and both those guys. And again, I'll touch on maturity, because it's not the easiest situation to manage, where you got a guy maybe, in our Roberts Wesleyan playoff game, I don't think PJ took a face off, but Jason was rolling, and he's at the end of the game, I'm trying to explain that to him. I don't even have to. He's like, I get it, coach. If I'm rolling, I don't want you taking me out of the game. Jason was the hot guy that day. And then you go to Lemoyne in our Final Four game, and it was the other way around. It was PJ. So to have those two options, I think makes us really strong. And both those guys have been really mature the way they handled it and how they support each other.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. That's great. Thank you.
All right, moving on to Jeremiah.
When you lose a postseason game, it's easy to use that as your motivation for the next year in the off season. But when you have what happened last year, what was the difference? Did it take the guys maybe a while to get over that disappointment, because it's not like it was out of their control?
Right. Yeah. You'd almost rather at least have the opportunity to play in the game and let, as an athlete, you want to, settle it on the field. Right. So they got that opportunity taken away from them. Listen, our 2020 season, I thought we were off to a great start. We had one loss, and it was to Lemoyne in a 1-goal game on the road. And, we thought we had an opportunity to compete at a high level that year. And then 2021 comes, and we got the 2 seed in the North, and we're in the quarterfinals, and that opportunity got taken away from them. So I think those guys were certainly super motivated. And they played with that chip on their shoulder. But I think like I said earlier, it was just like a greater appreciation for having the ability to get back, be together, and play after that opportunity got taken away from them. Because it was tough, and my heart broke. Especially for those seniors and fifth year guys that didn't come back, but just for all, you work so hard for something, and a lot of these guys, their whole life, and they're super dedicated to their craft, and having that opportunity taken away from them, not even be able to play on the field was tough. But again, we had like a couple of weeks where it was just, we didn't even have an end of the year meeting. Everyone was in quarantine, so we didn't get that, that end of the year feeling. We didn't get to finish it on the field, but so they were down, but that maturity and that focus where they're like, okay, now we have this opportunity. We're not going to leave anything to chance or squander any opportunity.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move back to Matt here.
Jordan, I asked JB what, maybe concerned him about your program. And
what'd he say?
a lot of stuff actually. But he kind of made the comment that like you guys have the superstars in terms of guys like Brady and Dominic, but just you also have the every guy down the lineup is really good and plays together. So I guess if you could, it's kind of a two-part question there of like, could you kind of highlight those guys, who everyone knows because of the way that they put up points on the board, but also just your team's ability to play as a unit?
Yeah. Brady and Dominic are, they're our primary scorers on attack. A lot of it's facilitated through our midfield. And our guys, I think what separated us this year from past years is that guys are doing their job and doing it at a really, really high level. Brady is super talented and he has the ability to create, take over games, make all those type of plays that the great ones can. And Dominic does it in more of like almost like a sneaky way where you might not notice him. He's a little undersized, but he's tenacious on the ride. He gets every ground ball. He's such a good decision maker. And it's like when you least expect it, and he's the one that had the game-winning goal. So he's been awesome, and he's a guy that's a little underrated. I mean, as many points as he has, like last year, he wasn't on the All-American team. He even last year, as good a year as he had, he was second team All-Conference. So this year he got first team All-Conference. I believe he's deserving of All-American, but a little underrated, and he's so important to us. And to be successful at this level, I guess what I've learned, and it might sound silly, but you need to be complete, and like Tampa is complete. And so like for us, we're not getting over the hump and beating Lemoyne if we don't get good face-off play from PJ and Jason. We're not beating a team like Lemoyne or Seton Hill if we don't get great goalie play from Tom Umano. We're not beating Lemoyne if we don't get great play from our defensive midfielders to limit their opportunities, from Tyler Patak, Christian Castles, Damiano Ferrara, Shane Gibbons. If our defensemen on their attackmen aren't doing their job and we're not clearing the ball, you have to be complete. And talking about Tampa, they do all those things well. Blake Ulmer is one of the best goalies in the country. Their face-off guy wins at a really high rate. They score a lot of goals. They're super athletic defensively. Down low, they're D-middies. And, while we're going over that with our team on our scout and stuff, it's like, this time of year, if it's our first national championship, but you're not going to get an easy game. Like, you're going to play a really good team, and that's a complete team. And that's what we saw, I think, against Seton Hill and against Lemoyne, where, like I said earlier, both those games could have went either way. There's so many good teams, and Tampa, man, they're really good. And I think that it's no coincidence that they're 20-0 and they haven't lost the game. You go through a whole year and you're bound to have, a tough game. Maybe you drop one where you don't play your best, and on the days maybe where they didn't have it, they're still finding ways to win. So not only are they super talented, but they're finding ways to win even when they don't have their best stuff. So we respect our opponents and we know what we're up against, and it's a really, really talented Tampa team for sure.
All right, we'll go back to Jeremiah.
Coach, just curious, early in the week, what you've seen from Tampa, knowing some of the strengths that they have, and what you think a key might be.
I think we need to do a good job on, and you could say this for any game, but they do it really well. Face-offs and goalie play, and those are two things that they do a really good job. So I think we need to try to, as close as we can to match them at the face-off X and get our offense possessions and limit theirs. And we need great goalie play. And Tommy's been great for us. And obviously I know they have a really, really talented goalie, one of the best in the country. So I think if we can be on an even level as far as goalie play and face-offs, I think, not just specifically to this game, but in any game, that's going to give you the best chance to win.
All right, we got time for one more question here, so we'll let Matt close us out. Matt, go ahead.
Jordan, one last thing is, obviously it's a big moment, and there's a lot logistics that you don't have to deal with the rest of the year that you have to deal with for the championship game. How are you managing that? Are you talking to Scott Marr? Are you, how are you kind of like getting some advice on how to handle this weekend?
Yeah, man, what the heck? My wife's away at a conference. I've got 3 kids under 7 years old at home, and I'm trying to deal. You don't like the amount of text messages and phone calls, and it's all awesome, and I wouldn't trade it. But it is. I would be lying if I didn't say it wasn't, if it wasn't stressful. But I try to manage it the best I can. We got our itinerary. Our administration has been really, really helpful in trying to take some items off my plate, because I do my full-time job. I'm the associate athletic director at Mercy, and I'm the men's lacrosse coach. So I'm kind of handling multiple responsibilities, and they've been awesome in anything I need to help me. But just like anything else, it's just trying to find that balance. I'm up early. I drop the kids off at school, watching film, preparing our guys, getting ready for practice. There's some logistics, like cafeteria's closed. We've got, getting meals ready for our guys, because we're the only students on campus right now. Travel, and like I said, the administration has been really helpful, but then also finding that balance once 6, 7 o'clock. Like last night I coached my 7-year-old son's lacrosse game, so still trying to find time to for the important stuff and balancing as best as I can.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. So we're at 11:30 here, so you're all set, but we really do appreciate you jumping on here and answering some questions, and we look forward to seeing you in Connecticut.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. We'll see you.
See you.
All right. Up next, we'll have Coach Jacob Kuhn from RIT. Make him a panelist. Good morning, Coach. How's it going?
Great. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Well, we appreciate you jumping on here and giving us a little couple of minutes here to answer some questions here. What we're doing is going to have you kick it off here to the opening statement.
Sure. Happy to be on. Happy to be here. Excuse me. Really excited for the Tiger Nation up here. It's been an awesome year. Wow, what a difference a year makes in terms of dealing with COVID and not dealing with COVID. It's been a little bit easier throughout the course of the year, not having to deal with that stuff. And the guys have responded and done a great job prepping for each and every game this season. Really excited to get through the gauntlet that we had. And I can't say enough about our team and our guys. Really excited to get to Connecticut and get to work.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. We'll start here with the Q&A. We'll start it out with Matt. Matt, you can go ahead and kick us off.
Jake, it's funny how things change so quickly. Do you feel like the grizzled veteran now, kind of you and your team in terms of handling what championship weekend is, given you won it last year and you've been there prior to that? Yeah. Do you feel like you have a little bit of more of a handle on what everything entails to handle this weekend?
Hey, Matt. Yeah. Grizzled. Yes. Look at me, for God's sake. It does seem a little easier, meaning I just was listening to Jordan talk about, all of the extra stuff that goes into this week, and you kind of get a comfort or at least you kind of know how to manage that a little bit better after doing it a few times. It's very overwhelming, all the support that you get and all the texts and emails and all of the extra work that goes into this week. But yesterday was really kind of an admin day, really focused on all the admin stuff and trying to bang all that stuff out and, kind of wrapping it up this morning. And then, we can really get to work on the practices and the X's and O piece. So I definitely feel more comfortable. It's not any easier per se, but it is, I feel more comfortable than I did in years past, where it feels like a scramble. But that doesn't necessarily change anything in terms of our approach. Just I feel a little more organized.
All right, we'll move on to Will Springstead. Actually, Will here, here we go. We can actually promote you to a panelist here. All right, Will, you can move forward and ask your question here.
You're muted, Will.
Mute. Well, if you could unmute yourself, right now you're muted.
Sorry, thank you.
Yep.
Coach, I was wondering if at any point in the year you sensed just how good the Liberty League was, and could it maybe eventually end up where it has, that the two of you might be facing each other?
Well, no doubt about it. We knew the Liberty League was good, and we knew that Union was very, very good. I guess in terms of the format of the tournament, this is probably unprecedented, having two teams from the same league participating, typically with a more of a north-south format. It just doesn't line up that way. So it never really crossed our minds until we saw the bracket, and it's like, wow, there's that potential there. And as it started to narrow down and we were still in the field, when we got to that quarterfinal round and we were both still out there, we were pretty familiar with, some of those other teams down there. York, we played York, and obviously Union as well. So we thought it could, be a possibility, a real possibility. And here we are. So Union's a very good team. We know that.
Well, if you have an additional follow-up, you can move forward with that as well.
I didn't, that's fine.
Okay. Sounds
Thank
good.
you, Will.
All right, we'll move on to Dan Kaplan.
Coach, how are you? First of all, congratulations on getting through the weekend.
Yeah, Dan, thank you very much. It was a gauntlet for sure. Two great teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I quickly wanted to dive in on a question about some personnel. It was really interesting, especially I got to see it all in person this weekend, but you guys play so many different guys and 4-man rotations at attack and, playing different guys in different spots through the midfield. And I'm just curious how it all works so well for you guys.
I'm not sure. Guys, I guess we just have good depth. We have guys playing confidently right now, who maybe at the beginning of the year weren't, or in years past, maybe we ran a little bit more of our first line. Right now, we're pretty comfortable at the midfield running, a couple lines, and I think we're deep there. And defensively, I feel like we have six good poles, that we're comfortable with. Attack wise, same thing. There's 4 guys. Cliff Gaston, we call him Cliff, has really stepped up as a freshman and had a great showing on Sunday. So it's really nice to have some depth, especially when you have some weather that we've had. To throw some guys out there and keep others fresh. It's certainly we're very thankful for that. Nice to see our guys step up and show some confidence and give us confidence to put them on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned your polls, and I kind of want to keep going that direction if that's all right.
Sure.
But when you think RIT, so many people immediately think, goals, goals, goals. The defense has been quietly excellent so far this season, and I'm just kind of curious what the mindset is on that side of the ball.
Doing some preseason interviews and whatever, we were very uncertain on where we would be down there. We graduated our goalie. We graduated 3 starting close defensemen. We knew we had some guys down there that were, had some experience. We moved Brett Naylor from LSM to close D, and he's really kind of, stepped into his comfort zone down there. He's doing a great job. And then Michael Grace has been the surprise of the year. He was an attackman last year. We converted him over to defense, which is just insane to think about. And he's been playing at extremely high level and doing a lot for our team. We knew coming in that our LSM position, we were deep, and we think that Taylor Jensen is one of the best in the country. He just causes a lot of havoc and just does a great job with the ball in his stick. So, nice to kind of settle in and start playing some really good defense at the right time. Certainly was a question mark at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that. I appreciate your answer.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to Matt.
Jake, we talked already just about how, you guys are familiar with Union, their Liberty League opponent, but, just the very basic question, what makes them scary?
Well, they're top to bottom talented. They've got a great face-off play. They've got a great goalie who's first team in the league, I believe. They've got 6 really good midfielders. Their 3 attackmen are they're veterans. They've been there for a while. Have a ton of experience. Derek does a great job with this program. They're well coached. In terms of knowing your opponent, they know us as well as anybody in the country. We know them as well as anybody in the country. So it's not like there's going to be any surprises out there in terms of, the 2 teams. So I give Derek a lot of credit. He's done an awesome job, really bringing that group together and excited to get after it on Sunday with those guys.
All right, we have about 5 minutes left here. So again, I don't see any hands raised, but if you would like to ask Coach some questions here. Oh, perfect. We got Dan Kaplan. All right, turning it over back to you, Dan.
Coach, wondering if you can give us a little bit about Ryan Barnable in the midfield and just talk a little bit about his impact for you guys. He's just been so consistent throughout his career and had another great year this year. Just wondering what your thoughts on him are.
Ryan's an incredible student athlete. He's great in the classroom. He's as mature as anybody I've ever coached. Has a ton of experience. He's just poised in all situations. And he is definitely a vocal leader for our team. He's the guy managing everything. We were joking the other day. I mean, we could pull something out that we did 4 years ago, and he'd be like, "Yeah, okay, let's do it." And he's spot on. Like he's another coach on the field. I mean, he's that good. And he's been put in a leadership role for I think 3 years now. So he's savvy. He's a savvy veteran, and very, very consistent with his play. And certainly, I know for opposing teams, he's tough to deal with. So, glad he's here, and I'm sure we'll get a great performance out of him on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I have no problem taking up this last couple of minutes here and getting us to 11:45. So I'll just roll with another one if that's all right, Marcus.
Yeah, we'll have you do one more, Dan, but I still have a couple more hands up, but we'll let you get one more in. Yep.
All right, there we go then. So I'll stick with personnel. You mentioned Taylor Jensen, said you think he's one of the best in the country. I would definitely agree with you there. What is his impact in the middle of the field, pushing transition, creating it and all that type of stuff? Like, how does that fit your identity and how important is that for you guys as well?
Extremely important. As you probably know, Dan, you've watched us enough. We've always liked to push pace, and get up and down the field. And we've always, at least since we've been here coaching, tried to get an LSM or a couple LSMs anyway that can do that and handle that and make good decisions in the transition game. So the short stick D middies and the LSMs are important to our game plan and our success. But he's also done a great job defensively. The transition piece is huge, but you also got to defend. He's putting the ball on the ground as well as anyone we've ever had here, and get 8 caused turnovers on Sunday, which is fantastic. Just getting us extra possessions and 5 ground balls to go with it. So, and it's not just him; it's that whole unit. We talk about the offense a lot, but those guys have a lot to do with why our offense is so successful, getting possessions and getting some easy goals in transition.
All right, we'll move on to Jeremiah.
But you mentioned pulling something out that you did 4 years ago. Speaking of last year, are you following a similar plan for this championship week experience as you did last year in terms of schedules and just everything that goes into it?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, things are scheduled out. We're kind of tweaking it a little bit. We're in the early slot this year versus the later slot. So that's a little bit different for game day. It's the first time we've been in the early slot. So, kind of navigating through that and, seeing what we want to do for game day. So your time's a little bit tighter. So not really a whole lot in terms of changes. I know we've done the Fan Fest in the past, and I don't think that's part of the equation this year. So we'll have to fill some dead time here or there, but for the most part, the guys are going to be kept busy, and team meals and appearances and practices and all that stuff. So it's fairly well laid out for you. We'll just fill in some blanks.
And then last question here, we'll go with Matt.
Coach, someone, opposing coach this year told me you guys were assassin-like in terms of, that's how he described you. He meant the focus and the professionalism, kind of the way that you approach the game. Last year was so emotional, winning the first time championship. How do you kind of have that focused, direct approach, I guess, to each game this year?
Well, I appreciate that compliment. Yeah, I mean, we do try to approach every game, and prepare for every game the same. Whether it's the championship or the first game of the year, they all matter just the same. We're not here unless we're taking care of business then. So, yeah, we really try to prep and do our homework and practice at a high level, no matter what. So in terms of prepping for this week, it's not going to be any different. We're going to make sure we get out there and get after it with each other. Prep for Union, and just make sure the guys are dialed in for Sunday. We can help that along, but they're really in charge of their mental state of mind. And we talk about that a lot. We got to make sure that we're dialed in mentally, and I believe they will be.
All right, Coach, we're about 1 minute over here, so we're going to let you go and you can get out of here, but we do really appreciate you jumping on here and joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in Connecticut.
I really appreciate it. We're just happy to be here. Should be a great week.
Awesome. We're looking forward to it, Coach. Thanks again for stopping by.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, our last coach up here will be the Union head coach, Derek Witherford. Coach, how's it going?
Going great.
Awesome. We really do appreciate you jumping on here and joining us here. We'll go ahead and get started, and we'll kick it off just with the opening statement from you.
I'm very proud of this team, and we can't wait to compete on Sunday.
Awesome. Sounds good, Coach. We'll turn it over to the media here. And looks like we'll start out here with Mike McAdam. Mike, you can kick us off here.
Hey, Derek. What do you need to see out of your team during the practice this week to kind of convince yourself and the staff that the team is ready for Saturday?
We need to be crisp, and we need to be laser focused because we got a big task ahead of us. So, I think we'll be mentally prepared, physically from a rough weekend, this past weekend. We got to recover as best we can, and then just stay focused, as I said.
Just as a follow-up, I'm sure you want, lacrosse is an emotional game. What kind of balance do you want to see between showing emotion and using it to fuel what you want to do and not being overly emotional, especially under the circumstances of this game and everything that's at stake?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's something we're going to have to balance. I think we're going to have to balance that emotion with our physicality as well, and try to stay out of the penalty box. I think that's going to be a big key to the game.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Matt. Matt, you can go ahead with your questions.
Hey, Derek, what's up? With this weekend, a lot goes into it. A lot of logistics and a lot of pomp and circumstance. Are you relying on anyone, whether it's people in coaching or people who have been there before, to kind of help navigate the weekend?
Yeah, our athletic administration and our administrative assistants are doing a great job of taking stuff away. Even some alumni are taking some things off my plate. And, I've been reaching out to coaches on Division 1 and 2 level and 3 level that have been here before that are just trying to help with that logistics aspect because we haven't been here before, as everyone knows. So any experience and insights and tricks of the trade that they can give to us is, I'm all ears for, and we're going to try to use whatever we think we can to our advantage.
And if I could follow up, RIT, obviously, you know this team as well as anyone in the country, and they know you as well as anybody in the country. How does that maybe, change the dynamic of this type of matchup, knowing that, both teams know each other like the back of their hands?
Yeah, I'm hoping that it takes some of the nerves of playing a national championship game out. I still think that's going to be there, but knowing the opponent, playing them 20 times in 10 years, there's some familiarity there. So hopefully that proves to be a good game, and they'll give some fans something to watch for and cheer for. But that's the hope going into it.
All right, we'll move on to Dan Kaplan.
Coach, how are you? Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us here.
Of course.
I really wanted to dive in here. I've heard your team described as tough maybe 50 times this year. So I kind of wanted to get your input on, where that edge comes from and, exactly how they have that chip on their shoulder and how that works for you guys.
I think it starts with Paul Wareham, the previous coach before me, bringing that mentality to Union. It's something that we talk about in our culture, that we need to be gritty. But at the end of the day, it's the players. It's the way we practice. We practice tough. We try to break one stick a day at least at practice. And it comes from the kids that we have. We have kids that maybe don't get the looks from a Ivy League or a NESCAC school. And I think we recruit kids that maybe are told they're not good enough to go to Division I level. So I think they carry that chip on their shoulder.
Awesome. And if I can ask another personnel question here, Peter Burns at attack obviously has just been tremendous for you guys this year. Came into the season kind of, under the radar compared to a lot of other attackmen in the country. I'm curious how confident you were that he was capable of having this type of a season coming into the year.
If I told you I think he'd have a season like this, I'd be lying. So I think it really just shows the work he put into the offseason, developing his body and his stick. He's physically grown a little bit in his college years, which I think has helped him. Pound for pound, he's one of the strongest kids on the team, believe it or not. So he's really put in the work, and I think I'm happy to see him have the success he has this year, because it was not expected from me or any other coaches this year. We recruited him as a crease attackman, and he's probably our best dodging attackman right now.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations for your success, and thanks for your answers.
All right, we'll move on to Jeremiah.
Curious if you could take me back to that April 9th game, 14-13 to RIT. Does that mean your guys know that you can compete with them and that you can beat them? But having a game like that early in the season, does it give you a little bit of a blueprint of what you need to do to be there, and then perhaps just make that one or two more plays?
Yeah. I think you said it right, and the 20 games before that as well. We're familiar with them; they're familiar with us. That's for sure. And it can be said the other way as well, though. So RIT knows they can beat us on a bad day. They know they can beat us on a good day. And I doubt both teams will change too much going into this game.
All right, we'll move on back to Mike.
Yeah, Derek, you touched on this a little bit just now. Playing for a national championship is a new thing, but the opponent certainly is not new to you guys. How big of a psychological hump is it for you guys to get over to beat RIT?
It's definitely one. They haven't done it so far, so it presents a unique challenge, but I think it's one they're looking forward to. I think when they saw RIT's name beating Tufts, I think they were excited. So they wanted a chance to redeem themselves and possibly beat RIT in the championship game. But it is no small task. They are a great team. They're well coached. They're disciplined, and they're great defensively, which not a lot of people talk about, and a lot of people know about their offense. So they really are well balanced from top to bottom.
But they aren't infallible. RPI figured out a way to beat them. Will you go back and look at that game, and of course, RIT came right back and rolled RPI pretty good the second time. I mean, which one of those games maybe will be more useful to go back and look at to unlock how to beat these guys?
I think the games in the NCAA tournament will probably be the ones we look at the closest. They've changed a lot since we've last played them and since they played our RPI, as have we. So, these are two different teams facing each other now. And so you got to scout the most recent games.
How do you feel like they've changed, and how do you feel like you've changed specifically?
We've all just grown and learned we've learned, I think, from our loss to St. Lawrence very well. I think they've learned from that loss in RPI. And they seem to be facing off and defending and even scoring at a even higher clip than usual. So, as I said, it's going to be a unique challenge and one we're looking forward to.
Thanks.
All right, go back to Dan.
Coach, you mentioned that game with St. Lawrence late in the season. You're still in school. You get sent down. You have to travel. You're still taking exams. All these things I feel like have gone against you somewhat late in the season here. Yet still here you guys are. Curious if you can speak on how that happens.
Go to your first question. We got some tough kids. We played Tufts on the road. We've played St. John Fisher on the road. We played St. Lawrence up at St. Lawrence. So this is something we're used to, and we're happy to travel. We just want to play the best opponents we can and show and compete what the talent we have on this team. And I think our fifth years and our seniors have done a great job leading them to these spots and kind of getting over some of those challenges you mentioned. So it's not easy, but if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Coach, and good luck.
All right, we got a couple more minutes left here. We'll start out with Matt.
Derek, when I wrote about you guys earlier in the season, I kind of mentioned the fact that basically your entire adult life has been involved with Union College and Union lacrosse and how much it means to you. So I guess just how much does this moment mean to you in terms of taking this team to the highest level of the sport?
It's not about me. It's about the guys that got me here. I'm just the guy at the top, and hopefully I put them in the right positions to succeed. So yeah, I've been here a long time, but it is special, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. So they're excited, and they're itching a chance to get one more chance at RIT.
All right, on to Mike.
Yeah, just one last thing for me. You mentioned the fifth years. Can you kind of speak to the commitment that they made specifically to this season to come back? I mean, I guess they could have gone on with their lives, but decided it was worth it to them to take a crack at this.
Yeah, it shows their commitment and their loyalty to this school and this program and to each other. I spoke about this before. I think some of these student athletes could have been transferred to Division I schools, if they so desired, but chose to stay here, and it looks like it's paid off now finally. So I'm very happy for those guys, and they're what the program, they embody what this program is about.
Thank you.
All right, looks like we got about time for one more question here. All right, Coach. I think you're off the hook here. No more hands raised, but we really do appreciate you taking the time to jump on and join us here. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you in Connecticut.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach Weatherford. And to all the remaining media who's on here, this recording will be distributed to you guys this afternoon. So thank you guys for jumping on, and we'll send out the recording later this afternoon. Thanks, guys.